in the house, man. PBO is in the house. What you got on this topic, my man? I know you're going to bring a different perspective on this one because you always do, big bro. What do you got on this one, my man?
Oh, just like everybody else. How you doing today, man?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. How about yourself, my man?
Man, I can't complain. AI and me, Kev, everybody had a nice perspective. But, I was checking out your favorite homie, O'Shea Duke, from the pro-black perspective. And Umar, they wasn't very nice to Dion. Well, I guess the minor thing I had is when Dion came, he was using pro-black talking points, right? We the community, we're gonna bring HBCUs up to the level of Power Fives, right? So I think a lot of people think he sold them something, then he bailed out, right? I'm with you. I don't agree with that, but I think because he used some of those talking points, right, to get the base riled up, a lot of people were saying. So that's O'Shea and Umar. If you want a different perspective, they were like destroying Dion. Like I said, I'm definitely with your audience. That's probably 5%, of the thing, right? So when you say we as a community going to bring HBCUs up to Power Five and we going to do this, right? We going to bring the level up. Then you leave, right? Then sometimes people feel a certain way about that, right?
But that's a point that I brought up earlier, PBO, right? You're right.
Yep.
You're right. Is I gotta say this. If he used that terminology, I still don't think that he's at fault because that's what he felt at that moment. Right? You think about it, right? When you come into an organization, just like the president, right? The president comes on to our national television, talks about what we're going to do as Americans and what he's going to do as Democrats and what we're going to do as Republicans and so forth. I get it. There's going to be some people that are going to be pissed off if he doesn't live up to the expectations of what he said he was going to do, right? But ultimately, is he can't get it done in a certain amount of time. A lot of the times it's not his fault. As long as he had a plan and so forth. So I get your point where people are looking at it as he riled a whole base up and all of a sudden he just jetted right into another another endeavor. But I don't blame him for that at all, man. Just like you, I don't blame him at all for that. And for the people who are, think that I get it, but you got to remember we are never promised anything from anybody. It's our responsibility to live up to the promises that we put on each other as an individual. I have to live up to the promises that I say that I'm going to do, right? And I'm the one that's accountable for that. So if other people are looking at him to say, hey, you should live up to this promise, you got to turn the mirror back on yourself. Are you living up to your promises to yourself? That's how I would address that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But two is all of us, and I'm bad about that, is we part of that top 10%. So a lot of the base, they look up, right? They're not really ladder climbing, man. They're treading water. Some of them people are drowning, man. So they thought Dion was gonna throw them a life preserver. Right? Because we that's why we here. We're the climbers, so we all think a certain type of way because we're the top of the pyramid. We're Maslow. We got insight. And me preaching so much, I'm back here clapping. He just throwing out that knowledge. That's what this group's about. But you got to remember, there's 80% of the people not even close to here, right? So those are the people going to be upset with Dion. But like you said, I understand, but I try to explain to him, do you want him to be stagnant? He might turn around in Buffalo. He can give y'all $1 million every year and keep moving, right? You don't know the end game for Dion, right? Like you said, like A&I, he's got this plan. When you make $5 million plus endorsements, he could give HBCs $2 million right off and keep it moving.
Exactly.
Right. So we don't know the bigger plan, but I just want everybody here to be introspective, right? We're at the top of this pyramid, right? We're in tech. I've been in the game for 30 years. So we're doing stuff 98% of the people can't even think about.
I didn't, man, PBO, you are brilliant. You're right. I live in my own bubble. You're absolutely right. I live in my own bubble, so sometimes I don't see it the way that other people do see it. And maybe that's maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. But ultimately, I get your point. You're right, man.
we're not monolith. Two things can be true at the same time, right? So it's not one thing is wrong. I just want people to think, because I try to go out in the community because I'm 55, man. I ain't got much life. So when you go out there and you start talking to people, then I'd be like, wow, this kid has no vision because his parents don't have any vision. Right? I got to try to give him some vision, right? You can do this. Like, and I mean, if you put in work, you can achieve. Right? A lot of people think I can't be here. There's no Black people in IT. I don't see any Black people around. I was like, I got a group of people I can hook you up with so you can see them, right? That's the good thing about YouTube. Because when I first started in 1988, I didn't see any Black people. But now with YouTube, now I think I got the opposite problem. I hang out with the climbers. I like, oh, there's a lot of Black people. I'm like, oh, no, it's not. There's only 6% Black people in IT, right? So now you got the opposite problem because we hanging out with each other, right? So,
right. No, I love it. I knew you was going to bring a different perspective on this one too, PBO. That's why I love to have these call-in shows, because I get people's perspective, and I want for that to transfer to the people who are watching us today, to think about this as, when they are going through situations in their career, or just to think about this Deion Sanders situation, that there are other people that just think a little bit different. And I'm glad that there's diversity of thought out there. But also, I think, what we're doing here is to educate individuals that there's another way of thinking about this, and that is to look at it as, he's leveling up. He's going to be able to help a whole bunch more individuals. This is kind of the steps that we should put in place, like AI and me said, with a plan, knowing that we have to sacrifice in our lives, endeavors, and so forth. And we can make a huge impact like Deion Sanders is continuing to do. We just don't know what that is yet. Like you mentioned, he could literally be making $10 million next year and says, you know what, I'm going to donate $1 million plus to JSU, which he only got in 3 years. He can do that in one simple year, right? So, I love that perspective, man. You got anything else for us?
No, I just want to take a different perspective. I know the climbers are climbing, so don't forget the little guys, climbers. Don't forget the little guys. No, shout out to you. I will see everybody in the Patreon. Let's keep grinding. I was doing some AWS labs at 55 this morning. I need everybody to keep up. Let's go.
Let's go, guys. Go ahead and subscribe to Brother PBO on the YouTube. Professor Black Ops. Always good to have you, my man. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. What's up, ladder climbers? It's Antoine Wade. I wanted to interrupt this video to talk to you guys about Course Careers. Course Careers is the place that you guys need to go if you have a high interest into tech sales. They will help you gain the skills that you need so that you can enter the tech sales world to make a whole bunch of money. Tech sales salaries early on is about $60,000, guys. That's a good salary. And with OTEs, you can make anywhere from $85,000 to $90,000. If you have an interest in tech sales, check out Course Careers, link in the description. And don't forget to use Antoine50 so that you can get a $50 discount off of Course Careers. See you guys in tech sales.
Appreciate you.
Guys, that's the show today. That's the show. Unless anybody else calls in, that's the show today. We got a good perspective from a good number of people. At the end of the day, I love what PBO says. You know what? We aren't going to see things the same way that everybody else does. I'm willing to listen. I'm absolutely willing to listen. Oh, hold on. We got another calling coming in. I like to share the perspectives of individuals. One of the things that you guys see on this channel here is that everybody who came on this channel are very respectful, and that's how communities move along. They move along because communication is very important. Being respectful is a huge piece of that, and listening to what other people has to say, whether you agree or disagree. That's how you communicate effectively, and I think that's how you make ultimate change. Right. And I've been educated today on, things that were said, how I should be looking at things and how I should think about things. Because sometimes I don't have tolerance for a lot of this stuff. And it's because I do live in a rock, right? I do live under a rock, and I don't see it from the perspective of other individuals. And sometimes when I say, oh, man, that's the, stupidest thing ever, I got to remember that there are people that aren't like me. There are people who don't think like me, and I have to accept that, okay?